don't do introductions until the official starts.
Oh, I'm not going to do the official introduction.
Okay, you're the big pause there. I thought you were going to start your introduction.
I'm 6'5", of course I have big paws. How this all began is Chris is a member of the Document Reviewing Society. He's the current head. Well, I was a friend of his, and me and him were like, we want to go to a con, but we're kind of broke right now. Aha. And that's how me and him put together Doctor Who 101. That was our first panel.
Anybody ever come and see our Doctor Who 101 panel? We did it at Wizard World. The first time they had Wizard World here when Freddy Krueger was around and Shatner and those guys. And we outdrew Freddy Krueger. That was like one of the biggest things I can say about my life is that my little tiny panel drew more people into a room than went to see Freddy Krueger. So.
No, they saw us more than they went to see Willie from.
Okay.
Yes, at least me and him are what we refer to as silverback geeks. We've been geeks that long. But the first Doctor Who panel, one-on-one panel, was an hour long. They scheduled us for an hour long at a convention called Tokyo in Tulsa. And 45 minutes in, they tell us that the panel after us has canceled. They said, could you maybe stretch this out a little bit? So, 2 hours later, and we have gone through everything, and we're up in the David Tennant era. So, we discussed more Doctor than you care to shake a stick at. What's our time now?
It's 1:29. We have 1 minute to film.
Okay. So then
I see that the second row has now been cleansed of whatever is infecting it, but apparently the other 3 rows still require. It's so weird. It's like this barrier. It's like church. You know, there's those who sit way far back, and then there's the brave souls who are like, yes, I know I'm a terrible person, please save me, and they come up front. It's good.
And we're about to save you from some really bad shows that need a good remake, or some really good ones that need to be brought back. Almost. Do. Come on, everyone with me. Okay.
All right, here we go.
Hi, welcome to our panel. My name's Ogre. This is my good friend Chris.
I'll do my own introduction. Hi, my name is Chris Burnham. As Ogre said, I am the current leader of the Tulsa Doctor Who Viewing Society, and normally I come and do panels on Doctor Who, but for this year, for whatever reason, even though we submitted one about the changing role of women in Doctor Who, they didn't approve it. How many of you would like to see a panel about the changing role of women in Doctor Who? Please raise your hand. See, that's what I thought, and yet Wizard World says, no, nobody wants to talk about women and stuff. So, so instead, we had this other panel kind of lined up as it was, and so I get to talk to you today about my childhood.
Our childhood.
Our childhood. Sorry, again, I was using the royal we.
My name's Tanya. I'm an old friend of Ogre, and I'm sort of a last-minute pick due to cancellations, but I am an 80s baby, so this is nothing fun.
She got drafted.
I'm Brian Copeland. Who wants to talk about 80s stuff?
Good, you're in the right room. You
Awesome.
have found the correct people.
I actually lived through the 80s too, so I know.
We're kind of surprised to see how many people here who weren't even alive during the 80s are here to want to hear about this stuff. That would be, I believe, you two young ladies?
And the one over in the left there, the black, who's got her head down, is trying to hide. She wasn't alive in the 80s either. She's a former student of mine. I can pick on her.
Ah. Oh, one quick lesson?
I was born in the 80s.
I mean, okay, so but I was born in the 70s, that doesn't mean I remember it. To be fair, most people who lived through the 70s don't remember it either, if they were living through it correctly, so, you know. Okay.
During the 80s, there were some, like we said, there were some great shows that, first, I have one rule. Anything 80s related, if Michael Bay looks at it saying, oh, I want to try to film that, we're going to kick him. We're going to hurt him. We're going to move him out of the way. I mean, I've seen Transformers. I've seen the new Ninja Turtles. please, for the love of anything, do not let Michael Bay near my childhood again.
So the main reason this panel came to mind is because there have been a glut, I think, of reboots, remakes. Disney is basically just harvesting its own past to varying degrees of success, but it still seems to be success. And there's a big argument that I see a lot of my friends make that say there's nothing original coming out of Hollywood anymore. It's all just revamp, reboot, and there's a reason for that. That it boils down to money. You build an audience that's going to make money for you if you go and put it up there again in a different form. So within TV, in recent times, there have been some reboots or revamps that have been very successful. If you think back to Battlestar Galactica, that's kind of where it started, in my mind. I was terrified when that thing was announced. I actually legitimately did not want to watch it at all. Because as a kid, I loved the original because it was for a kid. And they made a totally different thing that had just enough connection to the original. And once I did sit down and watch the pilot movie, I went, holy crap, this is amazing. My adult brain loves this thing. And it worked. It worked very, very nicely. Doctor Who, obviously, is another of the ideals of taking a series, not rebooting it completely, but continuing on in a very different style and being very successful in that regard as well, and creating a 50-year-long franchise that really is just one continuous story with a few jumps and bridges in the middle of it. But those things are kind of where we started from, and what worked and what could work if we gave it an opportunity to do so. And since we were children of the 80s, we kind of went back to what worked for us as kids, and what we'd like to see perhaps Hollywood or TV land or whatever you want to call it try again.
Or streaming services.
Or streaming services, yeah, which seems to be where a lot of stuff is going to, although they tend to be a little more original than some of the stuff. So I'm actually going to throw it over here first because we want to talk about one that has been rebooted already.
Oh yeah, something to show that's already been rebooted.
And it's one that I never
Very
watched.
successful.
I never watched the original, but I love the reboot.
Do you?
I do.
Really?
I really do.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. No, I want to talk about MacGyver. Yeah, the show that coined a term in our language to MacGyver something. Yeah. I absolutely love that show. I love the old one. I love the new one. A little bit of Doctor Who trivia because I'm hanging out with Doctor Who nerds. First 2 episodes of the original MacGyver, written by Terry Nation.
Nice.
Wrote a whole bunch of stuff for Doctor
Yes, he
Who.
did. Created the Dolphins.
Lucas Till, the new Doctor. Amazing job. Guy had done amazing stuff even before he did MacGyver, quite frankly. Who doesn't love Richard Dean Anderson? Yeah, it was one of the finest mullets. Hands down, exactly. We have seen, in this new series, we're seeing a lot of the old characters come back. We saw Pete Thornton, the guy that sent MacGyver out on his missions in the original show, come back as Patricia Thornton. And then after about a season, they got rid of her, replaced her with Maddie. And I have loved these transitions as well. Thought they were going to kind of hack me off at first, you know how it is and how it isn't like the old show, but still, it has flowed really well. Anybody watching the new show out here in the audience? No, we got a few MacGyver fans. That makes me happy. Now, the other thing, Jack Dalton, his best buddy, they traded him out too. Originally, that was Bruce McGill. But now, and I like this choice, George Eads is the current guy playing Jack Dalton. He actually just recently left the show too. That's disappointing. I have a feeling he might be back. And you know what I'm waiting for? We've had several cameos on this show. Lots of old characters coming back, like the guy that originally played Jack Dalton. I think he showed up as a law enforcement guy. But what I'm really waiting for, when does Richard Dean Anderson come back?
I was really expecting him to be revealed as MacGyver's dad.
I'm
genuinely
still
thought
expecting that.
I knew they were going to do that.
You know, but they're not going to do that. That's too easy. They'll throw us a curveball. Yeah, and that is another character that I would like to see come back. Yeah, I knew there's this giant search for his dad, and yeah, it would just be too easy if it was Richard. I didn't want to throw us a curve. But he'll come back as something else, I'm sure he will. And you know, my buddy running the camera back there and I were discussing earlier, the second show we picked, Beyond MacGyver to revamp. I just want to throw this in, it's terrible. You know, I miss that sound and that soundtrack, yeah.
Okay, but if you do that, can we have a reboot of Blue Thunder as well to go along with it?
That would be nice side by side, but I'm sorry, Airwolf was so much better. I like Blue Thunder, it was alright, but Airwolf was amazing.
Which one had the major movement?
I know. You got a point, Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll pass off to somebody else.
I mean, I've got a list here, so I can go forever. I just want to give other people one to.
I've got a couple, I'd like to throw
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to throw out 4 things real quick. And Chris is like, oh no.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start checking off my list here.
Well, the first one is I'm an old 80s cartoon fan, I will admit this. First one is Mobile Armored Strike Command, Mask, which they've actually talked about rebooting as part of the Hasbroverse. So, basically, it was Transformers without the robots. You had these guys, they picked the team, Mission Impossible style, whoever was needed for the job. Each one had a special match that had a special power. And then they would have their cars, jeeps, motorcycles, semi-truck that would transform into a battlefield. You know, typical kid stuff. Everyone wanted their Thunderbird to fly back.
Yeah, when rolling board makes you fly, I'm sold.
So I would like to see that. Second one I'd like to see done is, this one may be one that's a little obscure for some of you younger ones. Captain Power and the Soldiers of the Future.
Created by Jim Straczynski, who created Babylon 5. That's what he did before he did B5.
Yes. But the man's writing shone through. Even for a kid's show, he had mature themes, mature plot lines.
Am I remembering correctly, because I never watched Captain Power, but am I remembering correctly that that was the one that had the interactive thing?
Yes. Yeah. So here he is writing a 30-minute kid show that has to have this interactive combat in CGI. Yes, he had 80s CGI, and it actually looked better than some of the movie stuff. Come on in, folks. So I would like to see that. They've actually been talking about that. It's called Project Phoenix. That's been another one they've talked about rebooting, which I would love to see. Third one I want to throw out, well, I'm dressed for an 80s panel. I know the Ghostbusters movies are getting another reboot or sequel.
They're getting a third in the male version, yeah.
I would like to see the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah. I love that cartoon.
So, I mean, different colored jumpsuits, having Slimer running around as part of the team, having Janine being as snarky as ever. Come on, guys, we gotta love this. And then the fourth one I want to throw out there, I'm pretty sure it's on Chris's list, but because of the new information that's recently been done, I've got to throw it out there just because. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Kevin frickin' Smith, Silent Bob himself, is bringing it to Netflix, isn't it?
This is news to me, so no, I don't know this one.
Yeah, Kevin Smith is and it's not a reboot. It's a sequel. It's a continuation of the
Okay,
original.
all right.
Unlike
She-Ra's on there, right?
which got totally rebooted. But those are some of mine that I wanted to throw out there.
Cool. All right, so you want to throw something here? Should I go ahead? I can do a couple and then maybe you.
I mean, I enjoyed Thundercats when I was a kid. I'd
And
like to see that as a live action, that'd be badass.
They did that reboot for what, the Cartoon Network, which
Which
I
one?
never. Sorry, they did the reboots
Yeah, I
for
watched
Cartoon
that. It was
Network.
great.
I did not watch it, but I not really heard one way or the other.
The first reboot was good. The second reboot, does anyone have like a couple stabbing needles? They went with the Clarence, the new, I don't know how you want to call this style of, what was that? Towers? Is that what you call that style of animation? Basically, The style of animation makes SpongeBob SquarePants look really well defined. So, what else do you have, Chris?
Okay. So yeah, I put together a small list here. Actually, I'm going to start with a couple of shows from one of our panel members who could not be here today, but I do think that they're good ideas. One of the shows that he proposed was a reboot of the A-Team.
Yeah.
And I think you could make that work and make it not necessarily so over-the-top action-y as it was, but again, kind of in the line like with taking Battlestar Galactica, which was a little bit cheesy and really seriousing it up and attaching it to social issues. I think you could do something similar like that with the A-Team and with the current environment of distrust with government and things of that nature. And I really think it would be rather interesting to see how you would approach that type of a show. Another one that he put out, which I think would be a little problematic, given the whole tie-up of the Marvel, the MCU, is that he proposed a reboot of the Incredible Hulk TV show. And I think he meant truly in the style, the fugitive style that the Incredible Hulk with Luther Rickon and Bill Bixby was.
The David Banner version, not the Bruce Banner version.
Right. And I could see that potentially working if you can get the clearance to do a TV show or a Netflix type series, or not even Netflix, but Disney, I guess, Disney Plus, sorry, the series for it. I think it could work potentially. I know that Marvel has been reluctant for various reasons, apparently, to use Hulk on his own, and so I think.
Ang Lee.
Yeah, but I mean, even past that, within the MCU, using Hulk on his own, then that could be a problematic thing for them to tie up. Personally, my top choices, which I would really love to see, from all the stuff that I watched as a kid and as a teenager, there are two shows that I would desperately love to see somebody grab a hold of and figure out maybe a way to make it work. The first one, because I am a teacher, would be The Greatest American Hero. And the sad thing is, I actually don't think that they could do it right. Because, in part, of the general attitude in America towards teachers, sadly. And I'm not going to get on a soapbox about that here, but first of all, watching the old Greatest American Hero is really funny to me now as a teacher, because I look at that and I go, how in the world does Ralph have a job? He's never there. And I feel like there's only so far that you can use the excuse, I have to go do FBI work with this Bill Maxwell guy who eats milk-bone dog biscuits for a living. I have to go do that. I think there's only so far that your principal is going to buy that before he starts to haul you into the office and say, we need to talk, I think you have a problem.
Tenure.
But I don't think Ralph had tenure. And tenure is not really a thing in high school, in high school education. I know you're trying. I'm just speaking from a realistic perspective. That's an interesting idea. That's an interesting idea. Doing like epic charter school style.
But Chris, I would say there'd be one disadvantage to trying to do that nowadays. What does everyone have with them? Little thing like yay big
Something's right, yeah.
camera, video. Your secret identity would be gone in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, they would legitimately have to put a mask on him and
Yeah.
disguise him in a way that they did not
That
in the
movie here,
original.
it's pretty obvious who he was. The hard part with this is bringing back that theme song and reimagining Joey Scarberry.
I can see that.
Original theme song for that because of the guy. Do you know the guy that wrote that theme song? I have it on vinyl. I loved that show. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I thought I could be so free. Yeah.
I can totally see them taking that song and modernizing it, jazzing it up, rocking it up, if you will. I don't see a particular problem with that. I can see the trifecta of Ralph and Pam and Bill working nicely in there. And you don't, like so much television wants to do now, in making sure that you have equal representation for male and female peoples. You don't have to change anything there if you don't want to. You could change Bill to be a girl if you wanted to. You could change Ralph to be a girl like they did in that Greatest American Heroine pilot, which was really weird. How many of you ever seen the Greatest American Heroine pilot? Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a little weird, yeah. But you could do it. You could get away with it, and it wouldn't be a problem. I just think the central core issue of him being a believable teacher and making sure that you bounce, because to be fair, as much as he missed his job, which still just bugs me, the original did show that he was a devoted teacher and cared about his students, that he indulged them perhaps a little bit too much in some instances and took them to strange things like, let's go down a mine shaft and look where some old gold prospectors went and they'll get trapped there. Yeah, that won't get you written up. That'll be for there. But they showed the teacher side as much as they showed the superhero side across the entire series. And I think that was good. And I would love to see them do that again. I'm just not sure of the general mentality towards TV. You don't have a lot of teachers on TV these days. You used to, but you don't have a lot on them.
There's one that you need to watch on Netflix.
I don't have Netflix.
Okay,
I
I'll
said
bring
this
it
again
over.
and again.
I will get you a card for 1 week. Get you the free thing. You can binge the thing in a whole day, a whole weekend day. Mr. Iglesias. Fluffy as a history teacher.
The other one that I would love to see, because I used episodes of this in my classroom when the reruns were still on USA and it was still something that kids knew that I didn't have to educate them on the premise of the series, is Quantum Leap.
This little thing, Lego says I need to jump now.
Quantum Leap should work. And Quantum Leap could easily be retooled. And you don't have to change very much at all. I know, again, that they would want to fiddle with it, and since it's a buddy's show, basically, two guys, they're buddies doing this, they're going to want to change one again to be a woman. And believe it or not, I thought about this too, and I think they should actually make Sam a woman. Because in the original show, the basic time frame is about 40 years worth of time. They were set in the 90s, they could go back to the 50s, and that's Sam Beckett's lifespan. If you update that part to now, they only have to go back to the 80s. You don't have to deal with pre-women's lib issue. You don't have to deal with women being looked down upon to that level and ignored and treated like crap. You can do a lot of things where Sam, as a woman, can walk into situations and do what she needs to do. So I think it would work perfectly fine. But I loved the original show because I could utilize it as a teaching tool. I used the second half of the Leap Home, where Sam saves his brother in Vietnam. I used the Watts Riot episode to teach about race relations in the 60s. I used the Liberation episode, where he leaves to a war in the 70s, to teach about women's lib. And that was another show that I really enjoyed as far as educational side, because it showed history, and it made it a good point of indicating where history has taken us to and why these things are still a problematic thing now in certain respects. And I think that you could easily bring that back. And I've heard over the years, every once in a while, there's been talk, do a movie. It's always been do a movie. I don't think Quantum Leap should work as a movie. I don't think you get the feel of what Quantum Leap is supposed to do. I don't think you can tell the type of stories. I think you have to tell multiple stories to get what Quantum Leap is truly about. And you don't do a movie with that. You do a full-fledged series.
You talking about this and us being time travel nerds, I can't help but think of the 80s show, Voyagers.
Yes.
I love that show. I would love to see that come back. And the time travel concept in that was ridiculous. We just fall out of the sky. Whatever
They're
the
pocket watch type thing that allows us to go places and hold on.
Yes.
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 They sell those things now, like replicas of those things.
Yeah, I might want to hear the show. Because if it does that, although the landing needs to be softer. It needs to be worked out.
That show, you could take it a notch towards the serious and still Voyagers. Because, I mean, you could have,
it's not weird that some old guy just shows up in some kid's room one night and is like, hey, let's go traveling, because that happens in Doctor Who.
but you could have the two time travelers, one who actually knows history, one who, well, John Eric Hexum, or the equivalent of. We'll do Scarlett Johansson for it. She can play anything, right?
Yeah, sure.
But
Anything on my screen?
we get the two, maybe having the kid being the time traveler and snagging a history teacher.
Sounds like we're working.
See, now we sound like villains.
Which is getting a reboot recently.
No sequel.
See, hey, Jeff is going to be in there. I'm happy, right? Okay. Now,
Okay, so, what did we not mention that you guys would love to see?
that's one of the shows. Okay, hold on. We gotta give it a plug real quick. One of the stars of Manimal is here today. If you go see Melody Anderson, she was in Manimal. Unfortunately, poor.
But
But
I know what you're doing, but still, my brain has to take it seriously for a moment, and then it begins to melt, and
we have a character like Manimal on TV right now. He's on DC Universe. His name is Beast Boy.
But can he turn into more than just a bird and a panther?
Yes.
Okay, well then he's maybe on Animal's abilities. As long as they include the close-ups of his hand, like bubbling as it's changing, then I'm good with it. Yeah, because that was literally my favorite part of the show as a kid. Is the close-up up there?
CGI could help Manimal a whole lot.
I'm not sure that there's anything that could help Animal.
Choose your next words.
It could be worse than me. We're not mentioning Quark.
You know, I've never watched that. I have it on disc at home, and I still have never watched it.
He's out there plotting against us right now.
Oh, I know.
Stop talking.
DJ the Bear.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're not going to monkey around with that one.
Yeah. Bring back all the trucking shows. Movies and shows.
Yeah, but if we get that, we have to get Lobo. And who would we get to play Sheriff Lobo?
Did it start? Did Married to Children start in the 80s? Is it what, 89? 88? Okay. I think it was a 90s show because I know the bulk of its run was 90s. But if it started in the 80s, it would count. And in my mind, the only sitcom legitimately in my mind that I think you should make an effort, and they are making an effort apparently to bring back is Alf. As a legitimate sitcom, not as a talk show or anything of that nature, they're legitimately going to try to bring back Alf.
Fall Guy.
All that, which I never watched, but I know. I only had, look, there was one TV that had cable in the house, and then there was my black and white in the bedroom, and I had to pick. This is why I didn't watch MacGyver. True story, I didn't watch MacGyver because it was on at the same time as Alf. And I had to choose. I had to choose, and the puppet won out, okay?
I was going to say you're too busy being the remote.
That was also
That's
true
also
for
the
my
80s.
life. Yeah, that's true.
Do you remember the Highwayman with Sam Joe?
I
Yes.
do, yes. You could potentially make something work from that too.
Mad Max with semis. Okay?
Yeah.
And have it where you can put a joystick in your rig and it turns into a helicopter.
And you got to bring back Jack.
Do we have to?
I had legitimately forgotten about him until you mentioned him. And how much of a brief little pop culture bit he was.
Heavy
That's
Metal.
funny. Heavy Metal, the movie?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that.
No,
They did a second heavy metal, I believe.
They did, yeah.
Yeah,
It was like 2004 or something. It was way after. Yeah.
Heavy Metal, I think, would work is if we did it as an anthology.
So like Metal Hurling Zero. Yeah. Yeah, and they did that for sci-fi. Or they did it like over in France and then they imported it over to sci-fi. But yeah, you're right, it would work. And
And
it
I'm
did.
trying to figure out what the modern soundtrack for heavy metal is going to be. Yeah.
Oh, another one that's been brought back, one of my favorite movies. Critters got a new sequel recently.
What?
And it's all practical effects. That's the thing right there. One of the things that I miss from our 80s stuff was all the practical effects. Oh, here's two more series I want to throw out there just to see what you guys think. Friday the 13th, the series. No Jason involved.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And then,
Catch up to that.
and then Freddy's New Nightmares.
That one I loved. I never watched Friday the 13th, but I loved Freddy's Nightmares. It was on right after Saturday Night Live, and so I would stay up and watched both of those. And I really enjoyed the fact that Freddy wasn't always there, but sometimes was there, so you never were sure when you started to watch the episode. And the writing was good, and it was very cool to have a little half-hour anthology type thing, similar to Twilight Zone but for horror. Amazing Stories is great, yes. Yeah, since we're talking about anthology series, it's weird because anthology series is something that unfortunately modern audiences don't grab onto very much. I don't know yet, I've not read or seen anything about how the most recent Twilight Zone that they did for CBS All Access. I watched it, but I don't know what the ratings of the decision. I haven't heard anything about there's a second season. I agree with you. Kind of there were some good episodes. Some of them were really, really preachy, and you can get your message across without being over the top and hitting somebody with a moral stick on your head. But stuff like Amazing Stories, stuff like Freddy's Nightmares, those type of anthology series, they never seem to draw an audience anymore, and it's sad because you have a lot of good work that could be done with those, but so many modern audiences want as a whole, that modern idea of a whole story arc across a season that they can sit down on the weekend and binge through, and if they don't have that to grab onto, they don't pay attention as much.
To my gamma radiated friend right there.
Yeah, 21 Jump Street.
Oh, wow.
Has it? Okay, so
Can we ignore the movie?
that's what I'm about to say. Since the movies officially tie into the TV canon, then you're going to have to work around those a little bit.
Not really, look, they're doing a new
It's all
Terminator,
dream.
and they're saying forget everything after Terminator 2. Just focus on
That's true.
You can do that with the movies.
We
Yeah.
woke up, Bobby was in the shower, 21 Jump Street movies didn't happen.
I mean, when I was younger, like 10, 15 years ago, I was in high school, I even came up with the whole premise for them bringing it back. You get Judy Hopps as the new captain. The captain that was there before is the new mayor, and he wants to bring back the Jump Street program. It's been shut down since 1997.
Okay.
Boom, he wants to bring it back.
No, that sounds good. Yeah. I would watch it. I would definitely watch it. I was a Jump Street fan as well, and at least for the first, before they took away the main characters, the main actors for the characters, and made it syndicated when it was just on Fox. I watched it a lot, and I enjoyed the premise of it for quite a while. Never watched Richard Grieco's spin-off series, whatever it was called. Yeah. Never really I didn't care for him that much, and Bad Boys, okay. But no, Jump Street is a program, and Jump Street is a concept. Yeah, I like that.
Corner in the camera.
Remington Steel and Moonlighting would be really good.
Ah.
Yeah.
I totally agree with both of those, quite frankly.
I never really watched Moonlighting. I watched some Remington Steel. Who was it? Was it Tom Baker or Peter Davison? One of the two. It was Tom Baker. Tom Baker was in an episode of Remington Steel. Yeah. And so I watched that. And Peter Davison was on an episode of Magnum P.I. And so there's one that they brought back as well. So I watched that episode. But yeah, they would both work.
I was so happy to see him come back to T4.
I'm going to throw out a couple ones that I would like to see what. Oh, go ahead.
I had to check to make sure that they were both 80 shows. Small Wonder and My Pet Monster.
Small Wonder, definitely.
Yeah, Small Wonder was
Small Wonder
good.
would be fantastic.
And
I can clearly see Small Wonder working in the Disney ideal now. 100%.
And I don't know if it's a TV show, but they did a TV show, Swamp Thing.
They did.
And they.
I think the TV show is actually just into the 90s. The movie was in the first two movies were in the 80s, and then I believe the TV show itself, which was really better, was in the 90s. So,
And
which is fair.
they have rebooted the Swamp Thing. It's already
Yeah, and it's already gone too. They like one episode out, and they said nope, done. Never mind. We're not bringing this thing back.
But it was really good. They should bring back
Danny Phantom was a little bit past our timeline, but yes, we do agree that a Danny Phantom live action series would be better than some of the. Yeah, I won't say. But a couple series I was going to throw out here just to see what my fellow panelists think. One, The Adventures of Beans Baxter Jr.
Oh my God, I haven't even thought of that in a million years.
I remember the title. That's all I remember.
I remember liking it, but that's all I remember.
And Werewolf.
Werewolf. Okay, Werewolf was cool. Yeah,
No, Werewolf was 80s.
It was 80s. It was like 87-ish.
I was in high school, it was in the 80s.
Yeah. The series, from Fox. It was a Fox series, and it was the guy that played the rifleman.
Chuck Connors.
Chuck Connors was the baddie in it, and yeah, that was really like for TV. That was really atmospheric for a show, especially on Fox, which at that time was just beginning as a network.
It was Beans Baxter, it was Tracy Ullman, it was Married with Children,
Yeah.
which we could not do nowadays.
They had some presidential series on as well that I watched in those early days of Fox. It was about, it followed the path of some guy who just been elected president. It was a sitcom, and I don't remember anything about what it was called.
Tell the Sheep.
No, that's not right. Yeah, I don't remember. I'd have to look it up.
And always focusing on time travel shows. I'm back to Back to the Future. That was an 80s movie.
That was 80s movies, and those are 80s movies. I think at least the first one you should not touch. I love them all too. I mean, the third one was my least favorite of the ones, and I actually like the second one more than any of the
There's a
others.
good video game for it too.
But then there was that cartoon, and
Let's not go, we're not done.
I don't like the cartoon.
Okay, here, I'm gonna ask my fellow panelists this. What 80s shows should we avoid like the plague trying to redo?
Cosby Show.
The animal guy's gone, so animal.
Married with Children? I want to hear from the audience too. What do you guys think? Which one should we not touch? Miami Vice?
Yeah, the recent movie kind of proved that you don't.
Yeah, I never saw that. I didn't hear good things about it.
Tanya?
Negative, but I want to see Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers.
Well, that is a reboot of Mr.
It's
Rogers,
a
and it was
movie about it, but it's not a TV show.
close enough. What about you?
Charles in charge. Somebody said Charles in charge.
I have a comment about that actually, and it's not mine. I read it in an interview, and I can't think of who it was attributed to. But I read where a director was saying that leave the good stuff alone. Don't try and remake Citizen Kane or something like that.
And I generally agree.
Yeah, remake the bad ones. And I would give The Fly or something like that as an example. You know, I mean, you can take something that is flawed and make it better.
I think if you're
Comment
gonna.
on those lines.
I think if you're going to touch something that's good, and I'll go back to my example of Quantum Leap, I think if you're going to touch something that's good, you have to come in with an idea or a set of ideas to show I can maintain the integrity of the original, but still put new spins into it. That's the Quantum Leap was this wonderfully varied show where every week Sam had to, every week you were watching a different type of show. You were watching Western, you were watching a home drama, you were watching a science fiction show, it was all that. And so if you can plug in and find some way to tell a new story within those different type of genres, you can reboot a Quantum Leap and maintain the integrity of it without risking, and still have the opportunity to tell your stories. If you're gonna touch and go and try to redo, Dallas, which they did, then why? Dynasty, yeah, why?
How about
Automan.
Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
I love that.
I'm going to say Cromwell. Excuse me, sorry.
I loved Automan as a kid. I did. Yeah, okay, so Knight Rider. Knight Rider's one that they've proven they should never have touched because every single time they try it fails.
Street Hawk is brilliant. Yes. Bring back all the 80s vehicles stuff too. Fast cars that talk to you and awesome motorbikes and amazing helicopters.
They were doing that stuff up in the 90s with Viper. I watched Viper in all 4 of the seasons. Yeah.
What makes you want a Viper?
I remember this as a kid, if this was 80s. Street Hawk?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
that's just like
Talk
that.
about
Yeah,
you
yeah.
ride the alley and
It was like the motorcycle version of Knight Rider.
Why does this weird motorcycle come out of this one alley every time? I don't know.
Oh, but if we're going to do this, I have to throw this one out as well. Team Knight Rider.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that you don't touch the original Knight Rider because Team Knight Rider was and it was in the same environment, in the same continuity at the end. If you make it to the end of that series, you see that Kit and Michael Knight are both revealed at the end of the series, and they obviously had intentions to go on, but by that point, everybody was like, why are we watching this? Yeah, that Knight Rider, nobody should touch Knight Rider. And nobody, even Michael Bay should not touch Knight Rider. Especially Michael Bay. Especially Michael Bay should not touch Knight Rider.
Check my mind all kinds of places.
Did you have your hand up a second ago?
I was just gonna say that, I mean, it's hard when you are a child of the 80s to think about reboots because your nostalgia is attached to it so much that you think about, well, they shouldn't remake G.I. Joe. But if you go actually back and look at G.I. Joe, it was pretty horrible. I mean, the stories were crazy and outrageous.
A lot of them were, yes.
And there was no plot line to go through, and I mean, but there's this attachment that you have that you think about your childhood and the feelings that it evoked, that sometimes when you see remakes and they don't quite make it, well, it's because like that nostalgia's no longer there, that childhood.
It's absolutely true. There are things out of the 70s when I was truly like a little kid that I loved, that are just utter crap when I watched them now. I loved Electra Woman and Dyna Girl in the 70s. I love that. I watched the remake that they did for the online 1 hour movie or whatever it was. I was like, this isn't fun. This isn't like what it was. It's not the campy Batman ripoff that it used to be. Because that's, in my mind, what it was, and I love that. And so you're absolutely right. We hook onto these things because they instill an emotion in us, and we want to see them come back. But when they come back, if they do, if people do the reboots for them, we want them to be so much like the original, and they never usually are, and oftentimes they fall flat instead of rise up.
There better be a PSA with like, no, because that's the bad one, the GI. All that stuff.
Okay, I do have to go. Some of us did learn a few things important from the 80s shows. Like me, I learned from Transformers and Transformers the movie that if you have Leonard Nimoy in a Transformers movie, Ironhide is gonna die.
That will no longer be a problem, will it? Sadly.
Ouch! Shots
I'm
fired!
sorry. I'm sorry. I miss it.
Technology, how, you know what I mean, we have computer back then, really good. Back to the remakes?
Yes. But I think it's not just the remakes. I think it's all visual media as a whole. I think that I found this one when I went to see Independence Day. I walked out of Independence Day and went, okay, I just saw like 2/3 of the world blown up, and I don't care. I don't feel anything for the people because the writing, I thought, was subpar. And I think here's another example that I'll use. I used to run a video room at a convention called Conestoga, which was here in Tulsa. And I could show episodes of the original Land of the Lost, mid-1970s, stop motion animation, really cheaply done stuff in terms of visual sets and stuff. I could show episodes of that on Saturday mornings. I would have kids, modern children for the time, come in, sit down, and watch and be entranced. And I chalked that completely up to the writing, not so much the visuals, because the visuals were nothing on that. But when the reboot for Land of the Lost came out, what did they do? Amp up the visuals and really cheapen the storylines. And the 90s Land of the Lost is nothing compared to the original one. So it's a problem with a lot of things in that Hollywood says, make a big boom flash and everybody will stop thinking and just be engrossed with what they're seeing on the screen. And we, as a whole, I think, were raised still in an era where you had to fill in the blanks in your head with what you were seeing up there because the technology wasn't there. And if you had a strong writer, then you could make it past that. But that's not the case so much anymore.
I'm going to throw this out. I'm going back to Transformers. I felt we had stronger writing in Bumblebee, which had less robots, less big bang boom.
And I've heard that Bumblebee was actually an incredibly good movie within the franchise. Really.
It reboots the entire franchise.
Right.
No Michael Bay now.
Yes. Oh, really? Well, I might have to see that.
Yes. Oh,
21 Jump Street. Yeah.
Sorry. My problem with that is, would it work for us now that we're adults? Because when it was
It's a good
on,
question.
we were in that.
Right.
Well, so we moved their age forward, and they're just as
Would it work? I think the answer is yes. I think you can write, again, it boils down to the writing. Can you hire writers who are able to write stuff that will appeal to the old fans, and who are now obviously older, and still draw in the new audience that you have to have? That can happen. Is it difficult? Yes. Will it take maybe a little bit of compromise on our part, more so than the younger fans' part? Probably. But it could be done, I think, if you can find a way to incorporate original characters
Put
in
it on the
there.
CW.
Then and put it in, yeah, no, but that's what they did with 90210 when they rebooted that, and they brought in original characters from the original Beverly Hills 90210 to do, like in the first season, to draw in the old audience and say, hey, look, you remember these people, they're still going to be here, and now you need all these other ones. And then after the first season, they removed the old ones. By that point, you're invested in the new ones if you've stuck around that long, and you'll want to carry on. If they do that with Jump Street, because they're all still alive, if they do that with Jump Street, find a way to incorporate them in first season, invest you, build you new characters that you want to care about, and slowly phase the old ones out, I think it could absolutely work.
I think you can have trouble.
Children could be.
That too, yeah, make a connection
Okay,
there.
kids at the high school age.
Yeah.
I think that plan has worked for the Archie. Oh, I'm sorry,
For
Riverdale.
Riverdale. Riverdale's good.
Because when we were kids, it was the Archies. Now, whole new take on it are Charmed. Yes, I know it's a 90s show, but the new Charmed, the
They're hot, just like the
It's
rest.
true.
I mean, they're.
You have no idea.
okay, it's not the guy. It's not the guy saying this. Okay, it's not the guy. It's the one woman we have on the panel making the. Anybody else have any comments or?
Yeah, speak down in the microphone.
I was like, what about Hill Street Blues?
Hill Street Blues.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot of options.
that and St. Elsewhere. St. Elsewhere. We have to do those two together.
Well, a lot of that stuff's already been done. I mean, a lot
The
of
Dark
these-
Crystal series that just downloaded on Netflix. Has anybody watched it yet?
I hear it's great.
Is it a continuation of the story? I don't even know. Is it a prequel? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched that.
But it's all digital now, right?
No.
Oh, it's poetry. Oh, nice.
No.
I
Yeah.
The
definitely
little
watched
kid
it now.
from Lapras is one of the puppeteers. Is one of the ones who designed the puppets.
Really?
Really?
That's cool. Awesome.
Now we gotta go.
I actually would also bring back, since he was talking cartoons, I would bring back Muppet Babies.
They already are back.
They are?
Yes, they're on Disney.
On the Disney Channel, like a new series?
Yes.
How long has this been going on? I totally missed this. Really? I totally missed this completely. Okay, I gotta go find it.
Oh, and they actually made Muppet Babies.
No, it's not good.
Okay.
Actual physical Muppets. Okay. With the, oh.
Last
one
question,
thing,
because he's gonna
Because the
quickly
young lady there in yellow is
shove,
telling
shoot
us we
away.
need to shut up.
Yes.
So,
Can we all agree that My Two Dads was too perfect for remake?
I love My Two Dads. I did. And actually, I think that with perhaps a bit of a different context today, but I think that could also work very nicely today, and get across a lot of different subgroups within, yeah, and you could do My Two Moms,
one thing though, if we ever did touch it, do we get Newt as the little girl, or do we get Bear? Because BJ the Bear and Paul Reiser did kind of try and get the little girl fed to an eagle. Hey guys, thank you. Did you guys